What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NFL Turf Talk. We are here in week 17. Starts tomorrow on Christmas Day. That is why we will not be live. Got my hair sticking out the side of my hat. Let me fix that there so we're balanced on each side here. Nonetheless, happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to another episode. As I mentioned, we are going to be getting started with week 17 on this episode. But first, we will dive back into week 16. As you can see on the screen there, we are going to be going over some week 16 takeaways. The easiest way I found for me to do this today on this episode, along with getting a little bit of Christmas fun in as well, was to ultimately just go through the updated top 10 power rankings for the show. We'll go through it that way, talk about the bigger matchups from week 16, the ones that had playoff implications, the ones that ultimately impacted the top teams in the NFL. Felt like that was the best way to kind of go through this. Then we'll take a look at the updated playoff pictures in the AFC and NFC, respectively. And then finally, towards the end of the show, we'll finish up with week 17. We'll get into Christmas Day slate, which... to be quite frank, stinks. The slate is borderline meaningless. What? Three of the 6 teams you have playing are playing for nothing. They are eliminated from the playoffs ultimately, and I'm talking about the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Commanders. 4 of the 6 teams, the Minnesota Vikings as well. The exceptions obviously being the Detroit Lions. They need to win or they're going to be booted. They're going to be eliminated from the playoffs. They have a very slim chance of making it anyways. They obviously take on the Vikings. And then we have the Denver Broncos, who recently lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to be taking on the Chiefs, who are already eliminated. But Denver does need to keep winning games to ultimately hold their seeding and keep their lead in the AFC West ahead of the LA Chargers. So definitely some stuff to keep our eyes on for tomorrow. But the bigger, the better matchups are on Saturday, I would say. That's our other abnormal time slot, I would say, for this NFL 17 matchups. So we'll get into the Saturday games as well, and then I'll be back on Sunday morning to go over the rest of the Week 17 slate. So we'll dive in some more on Sunday with you guys. But welcome. If you haven't already subscribed to the NFL Turf Talk channel on YouTube, please do so. That is what I'm actually linking in the Twitter channel right now. So if you're watching on Twitter right now, on X, you will find the link to the YouTube channel right in the replies there to the X link. Appreciate you watching on X, of course, but the goal is to ultimately grow on the YouTube channel, and that's the best place for us to get you guys involved in the comments. So I just posted that in reply to the show. Be sure to click on that, subscribe to the channel, and help us out in that regard. But nonetheless, let's get into it. We're going to start at the top. We're going to start with power rankings across the NFL, top 10. Things have shifted quite a bit, I would say. You had the top team in the NFL, for my money, the last couple of weeks, right? They were on a 12, 13-game win streak. And I'm talking about the Denver Broncos. Well, we had them lose. And I think the big thing with their loss, one, who the loss was to, two, the loss being at home, and three, the fact that they've had some very, very close encounters leading up to this loss at home to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they did shift down a little bit. We had some movement at the top. And, of course, we had the top NFC team going into Week 16, the LA Rams. We had them lose to the Seattle Seahawks last Thursday. That was an awesome matchup. Me and Dylan already talked about that earlier on Sunday, I believe it was. But nonetheless, you have the Rams shift, so they move down a little bit, maybe not. We'll get into that right now. So I'm going to start from the bottom. We'll start with the lesser teams for now. And I'll be honest with you guys. This one was tough. I think a little bias came into play. You see my background. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm going with the Eagles at number 10. I get it. They had dropped 3 in a row leading up to the Raiders and Commanders matchups. They go out, they beat the Raiders at home 31-0. Obviously, that's a game you needed to get back on track. You needed to bounce back. You come out against the Commanders, you struggle in the first half. You're able to pull away in the second half. The big thing for me was seeing that run game get going. I know it's Commanders defense, but giving that Eagles offense some confidence on the ground, giving Saquon some of that confidence back, and he was able to get loose. The honorable mention here, and so obviously this will give a little bit of a tidbit to who's above or who's not above. The honorable mention here for me, who I was deciding between with the Philadelphia Eagles, was the Houston Texans. Now, I think there's a very fair argument to put the Houston Texans over the Philadelphia Eagles in these power rankings right now. The Houston Texans got the same record, 10-5. The Houston Texans are actually on a 6-game win streak. So just to be fair to the Houston Texans, maybe a little bit of bias there with the Eagles, maybe a little bit of expectation versus what they're actually putting out on the field when it comes to the Eagles versus the Texans. I just look at it like this. I look at it with the Texans side of things, great defense, maybe the best defense, definitely a top 3 defense in the NFL. You go over on the Eagles side of things, a top 5 defense, would you say? For my money, top 3 defense as well. I think this is a Super Bowl contending ready defense in Philadelphia. They're going to get Jalen Carter back this week, which is arguably the best player on that defensive unit. So that's why I go back and forth. They got a good defense. Maybe this is a great defense in Houston, whatever the case may be there. Then you get to the offensive side of things. To each their own. I'm going to trust Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, so on and so forth. You got Nico Collins over there. You got C.J. Stroud playing a lot better of late. But yeah, I think as we approach the playoffs, it's time to start looking at these teams for what they really are and what you truly believe them to be. And that's ultimately why I went with the Eagles over the Texans at number 10. But definitely wanted to shout the Texans out there. Number 9, give some love to the Chicago Bears. They didn't. I think they did move up one slot by getting that comeback win against Green Bay. You have Green Bay drop out. They lost that game. They gave up the lead. Jordan Love goes out with a concussion. I don't know, right? It was just a weird game to me. I will say this, the positive. The Chicago Bears defense, opportunistic. They get a lot of turnovers, so that's a positive for them. The other thing is Caleb Williams getting that experience in a big game, in a big moment, and having success. He's obviously a very talented quarterback. It's all about putting it together and then obviously mixing and matching that with Ben Johnson in that run game, which I do like their 2-headed monster when healthy of DeAndre Swift and Kyle Manage. I always get the name wrong. I apologize in advance. But yeah, I'm going with the Bears here. They're 11-4. They're at the top of the NFC North. Kind of. I'm not going to say they're running away with it, but that win against Green Bay was huge. Green Bay's really beat up right now. They already lost Micah. Will Jordan Love play in this upcoming game? Josh Jacobs been beat up the last couple weeks. Christian Watson beat up. Already lost Tucker Kraft on offense. So the Packers, man, there's somebody to keep your eye on as you look at like the Detroit Lions down there. I think they're 8-7 right now, trying to sneak into the postseason. Keep your eye on the Packers, especially if Jordan Love misses this upcoming game this weekend. But nonetheless, Bears 11-4, top of the NFC North, coming at number 9. Number 8. This is a team, man. I'm super curious. I'm super curious of this team come the postseason. It's the LA Chargers, man. They go out there, they lay a smackdown on the Cowboys, eliminate the Cowboys from postseason. Maybe they were already eliminated. I may be getting that confused. But nonetheless, the Chargers locked themselves in with the playoff spot with this win. They moved to 11-4. And let's just be honest, man, the Chargers are having a hell of a season compared to what I expected for them. Harbaugh, Herbert, a little beat up with the offhand, the fracture in the offhand or wrist, whatever that was. But Herbert's playing some good football right now, not turning the ball over. And they're getting the run game going here and there, I would say, with Vidal and the rookie Omarion Hampton. He's finally healthy. The defense, though, is very opportunistic. Once again, they get turnovers. Very stout, and they were able to contain this Cowboys offense, hold them to 17 points, which was very impressive to me. You look at them right now; they're 11-4. Broncos 12-3. All those wins for the Broncos, and they're still what, one game ahead of the LA Chargers. And I'm just looking. Yeah, Chargers have won 4 in a row. Just wanted to see what the remaining schedule. Yeah, and they play in week 18. I just wanted to double check that because I thought so. So yeah, you got the LA Chargers sneaking up on the Denver Broncos, especially after that Broncos loss to the Jags this past week. Something to keep an eye on, right? Something to keep an eye on. Chargers, could they sneak up and win that division? KC completely out of the picture, which is crazy. Number 7, I went with the San Francisco 49ers. They had a very impressive win on the road. Brock Purdy played out of his mind, 5 touchdowns, uber efficient. CMC was able to get it going on the ground. Phillip Rivers had some early success in this game. Indy trying to stay alive in the postseason picture, but they fall once again 48-27 to the San Francisco 49ers at home. I don't know where the Colts are going. They're not going to the postseason, man. It sucks for them. It's a fun story for Phillip Rivers, 44-year-old quarterback returning after 5 years. Actually played pretty well for Indianapolis on Monday night. And yeah, the defense goes out there, gives up 48 points, completely lets the team down. Can't forget, though, Phillip Rivers did throw that pick 6. Which shout out Phillip Rivers. That definitely won me one of my fantasy leagues to get me to the championship. So I am definitely appreciative. Let that river run. Ain't that the saying? But yeah, defense gave up 41 points, I guess you could say. Gotcha, Warren. So yeah, we will definitely talk about all. Well, 3 of those teams are on the 49ers now, right? But we will talk about those other 2 NFC West teams as well because they are a little bit further up in these rankings. But the NFC West, definitely something fun to keep our eyes on down the stretch here. Because a rookie can't read the field. All right, I mean, sure, whatever. The Colts are going to be out of the picture ultimately. The 49ers come away with a big W. Kittle goes down with an injury in this one. He was actually cooking in this one up until that injury. So we'll see what he's looking like going into fantasy championship week. I don't know about yourself. I'm in 2 championships. So one of them, I do need George Kittle to be ready to go. So here's hoping. Number 6, team I kind of mentioned already here. Big, huge win this past week. And it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I went back and forth with them at 5 and 6. This team ahead of them. Let me just be clear. The team that I have ahead of them at 5 is the Buffalo Bills, who are also 11-4. Jags 11-4. Jags coming off the 34-20 win against the Broncos. Bills coming off the 23-20 win against the Browns. They really struggled against the Browns. Josh Allen was not Josh Allen against the Browns. And I think he actually did get banged up in this one nonetheless. You had to see that Bills team kind of step up in that regard. James Cook had a big game. The Jags, though, that defense, that aggressive defense, the way Trevor Lawrence is ultimately playing right now, it's very impressive what the Jags have been doing of late. And I was just double checking. I wanted to see how many games in a row that is for them. So they beat the Broncos, they beat the Jets, they beat the Colts. That's 3. Titans 4, Cardinals 5, Chargers 6 games in a row, dating back to a loss to the Houston Texans, which is a big loss. But nonetheless, the Jags have been taking care of business, especially against direct AFC playoff competition or teams trying to get in to the playoff picture. But this was by far their most impressive win of the season. Trevor Lawrence, once again, 23 of 36 from the field, 279 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions in this one. Travis Etienne was able to get 50 yards on the ground. He also had a touchdown through the air. But more importantly, on the other side of things, you see the Broncos have their 12, 13 game win streak snapped finally. It is snapped at home. You had Bo Nix, 28 for 47, 352 through the air, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. We're able to get some done on the ground. It just wasn't a very clean game from the Denver Broncos. And I think ultimately this was a case of just some of the close occurrences they've had in previous weeks catching up to them in this one. Ultimately, Jacksonville Jaguars playing some lights out football of late. They come away with the W, which ultimately gets them at 6. But as I was saying to start the 5-6 combo, the Bills, right? Are the Bills actually a better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think the Jags defense is definitely better. That's a definite. It comes down to the lack of confidence, lack of belief in Trevor Lawrence. From me personally, I think that's where Bills over Jags comes from. But Trevor Lawrence has been playing lights out, specifically the last 2 weeks. I think that's 8 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions the last 2 weeks for him. You just double check. We don't want to give out improper facts here. He's got 26 touchdowns, which is 4th in the NFL, 11 interceptions on the season. And last 2 games, 3 touchdowns, 5. Wow. Yeah, so last 4 games, 8, 10, 12 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in his last 4 games. Mind you, prior to that, he did have a game with 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So cleaned it up after that Arizona OT W ultimately, and has not turned the ball over since. He's thrown the ball 12 passing touchdowns in 4 games. That's a pretty good stretch for Trevor Lawrence. He's just got to prove it in the playoffs. He's in a very similar situation as Justin Herbert for me. Got to prove it in the playoffs, and we'll see, man. The talent's there. Bills at 5, Jags at 6. Number 4 is where we see some consistency from the previous weeks. We got the New England Patriots coming in at number 4. They had a big W over the Baltimore Ravens to get back on track after that collapse against the Buffalo Bills at home. They go on the road against a Ravens team that is trying desperately, I guess, to make the postseason right now. You have Lamar Jackson go out of this game early with the injury. Obviously, the big talk about with this team right now and Coach Harbaugh and what they're doing there in Baltimore is Derrick Henry and his usage or lack thereof, right? And let me just get the numbers pulled up here because it's really just, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe he didn't touch the ball, in the 4th quarter entirely? Derrick Henry in this game, 18 carries, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.1 yards per carry. And I just want to see when he was, when you just decided to stop using Derrick fucking Henry. It's fucking weird. Let's see. Yeah, looks like K. Mitchell definitely at the beginning of the 4th quarter. So he did score at the beginning of the 4th, and I guess from there it was the Tyler Huntley and Keaton Mitchell show. It's really weird. I don't know if it's like durability issue with Derrick Henry. Do they see him get tired? Does he ask to be taken out? I really don't know. When you have a guy that's running for 7 yards per carry, he's a perennial all-pro running back, like a Hall of Fame running back. Like, I don't understand how you don't give him the ball, especially when Lamar Jackson goes out of the game. It's a 1-possession game. I think they were leading most of the way in this one. But nonetheless, Pats bounced back on the road in a big spot against Baltimore. It was an impressive win for my money for this New England Patriots team that just doesn't have the strengthened resume that you would usually need going into the postseason, being a division leader. But they definitely got to keep their eyes wide open, right? Because they got the Bills on their heels. Patriots, after that Ravens matchup, they got the Jets in the Meadowlands, and then they come back home to take on the Miami Dolphins to finish out the season. So Patriots should win the division, keep the Bills off their tail. Bills obviously taking on the Eagles this weekend. That's going to be a big matchup both ways. So Pats at number 4. They moved to 12-3 after the bounce back against Baltimore. Number 3, this is where it gets really interesting. I went with the Broncos here, man. 12-3. They have a better record than one of the teams above them. They obviously were on at least a 12-game win streak. I keep saying 12 or 13. It was at least 12 games. They're 12-3 on the season. They lose against a Jags team that is a playoff team. They're 11-14, like a good team, right? But they moved down 2 spots. But I talked about this a little bit earlier. That is ultimately strictly due to their previous occurrence of having a lot of close games where you could argue they deserve to lose. But they found ways to win. You always give credit towards winning until it doesn't happen. For my money, these 2 teams ahead of the Broncos are better. I'm going with the Rams at number 2 at 11-4. Obviously, coming off the loss to Seattle. Seattle's a 12-3 team. Like, they're a great team as well. I don't consider that a bad loss on the road. The way it played out, you might consider it a bad loss, but nonetheless, I think ultimately it's a bigger win for Seattle than it is for a loss for the Rams. Which is ultimately why I do have the Seattle Seahawks at number 1, 12-3 on the season, 1-point win on the Rams at home. I'll be honest, it was hard for me to pick like a number 1 team right now. I think naturally I lean towards the Rams as the best team in the NFL right now. Just being completely transparent. I think defensively, you know what they can do. They have a mean pass rush. They're a little banged up in the secondary, but that pass rush gets it done. And then on offense, you obviously have Sean McVay, Stafford, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams in the backfield. They've even been using Blake Corum a good bit back there as well. Big thing for them, Davante Adams, right? He's got to get healthy for the postseason. He's their big red zone target. I know they got a bunch of tight ends they use in LA there, but Davante Adams is that threat. Even if he's not fully healthy, if he's on the field, he's a threat. He takes attention. So I think they're going to need him right going into the postseason. But yeah, if I had to pick a team to say that's the best team right now, I'd probably go with the Rams. But they just lost to the Seattle Seahawks, blowing a big lead. So obviously couldn't put the Rams over the Seahawks, which is how I end up with the Seahawks at number 1. I think ultimately you look at this list, you think about some of the things I said while discussing this list. It just speaks to the variety, or the parity, I guess is the word I was going for. Excuse me. The variety, the parity that you are seeing in the NFL this season, in the NFC and the AFC. Who's the clear-cut Super Bowl favorite right now? Maybe you would have said the Broncos leading up to this week. Maybe. Bo Nix, Super Bowl favorite? Really? Like, Bo Nix? Like, nah, that's why I do lean Rams, right? They got Stafford. Seahawks, Sam Darnold, Super Bowl favorite? It's why I still have a little bit, if you want to call it blind faith, in the Eagles. That's why. I think the NFL is wide open this year. All it will take in the AFC, which one of these quarterbacks that we have not seen do something big in the playoffs, who's going to do something big this postseason? That's the big question out in the AFC. You look at the AFC picture right now. Denver, 12-3, number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, New England, 12-3. Number 3, Jacksonville at 11-4. The number 4 seed, the AFC North leading Pittsburgh Steelers, 9-6. Then you get into the wild card spots. Number 5, the LA Chargers at 11-4. Buffalo Bills at number 6 at 11-4. And the Houston Texans at 10-5 at the 7 seed. Then you have Indy and Baltimore. Indy 8-7, Baltimore 7-8. Outside looking in, still have a minimal chance to make it. Think about some of the quarterbacks that you're going to see in the postseason this year in the AFC. Excuse me. Denver Broncos, you got Bo Nix. New England Patriots, you got Drake May. Jacksonville Jaguars, you got Trevor Lawrence. Pittsburgh Steelers, you got Aaron Rodgers. He's kind of needs to bounce back in a postseason picture, right? Then you get to the Chargers, you got Justin Herbert. We know about him. Buffalo, obviously, Josh Allen. That's the mainstay. That's the guy that, if you're being real about the playoff picture in the AFC, that's the guy that needs to come out of the AFC this year when you look around at the quarterback picture in the AFC. And then you get down to CJ Stroud with the Houston Texans, and he has at least one playoff win, but he's obviously due for a breakout party in the postseason as well. So somebody, if not multiple quarterbacks in the AFC, are going to break out this postseason. Which ones are they going to be? That's what I'm curious of. Is it going to be Bo Nix? Is it going to be Drake May? Who's gonna pop out of those two guys that have kind of led the way in the AFC so far? You look at Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. I look at them in kind of the same bubble as well, right? Two guys that we know are uber talented. We know they have talent. Can you put it on display in the big moments in the postseason? So yeah, we'll see what comes in the AFC, and then similar in the NFC. You look around in the playoff, the QB situations out there. You've got Sam Darnold, number 1 seed, Seattle Seahawks in the NFC, 12-3. You've got Caleb Williams leading the way for the Chicago Bears in the NFC North at 11-4. You got the Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts at 10-5, leading the way in the NFC East at number 3 there. Number 4, you've got Bryce Young. Interesting, right? 8-7 Carolina Panthers right now. We'll see if they can hold on to that spot from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but would be really interesting to see Bryce Young, former number 1 overall pick, make his first postseason start. Number 5 seed, you got San Francisco 49ers at 11-4. Brock Purdy, obviously, been to a Super Bowl. He's got experience. The number 6 seed right now, the LA Rams, 11-4. Matthew Stafford obviously won a Super Bowl. He's got experience. And then number 7, you've got the Green Bay Packers at 9-5-1. Jordan Love, currently concussed, but he'll be back for postseason. He does have a few, if not, he has at least one playoff win against the Cowboys under his belt. So we'll see what he's got. But man, it's going to be an interesting postseason. A lot of new faces, maybe some new faces in new places as well. But it should be interesting nonetheless. Wanted to pull this comment back up here. Appreciate you commenting, Warrens. Rams need Seahawks, Bears, and 49ers to lose one game the next 2 weeks to take the number 1 seed if they win out. The interesting thing here, because you are right, I think the interesting thing is that the Niners and the Bears play each other this weekend. Let me just make sure that is correct. Niners and Bears. Yes, Sunday Night Football. And this is also interesting from an Eagles perspective as well, Warrens, because you have the Bears who are 11-4. You have the Eagles who are 10-5 sitting at the 3 seed, Bears sitting at the 2 seed. Eagles would ultimately need the Bears to lose out. So to drop down to 11-6, Eagles would need to win out against the Bills in the Commanders Week 18 in order to get up to that 2 seed. Now, that is including, I think the Packers are still in the mix there, but once again, that would, I think the Packers would need to lose one more as well. Otherwise, they would jump ahead of the Eagles with a tie. I'm trying to think. The Packers are what, 9-5-1? 9-5-1. Eagles are 10-5. So the Eagles would be 12-5. Yeah, so I think the Eagles would still take that tiebreaker, even if the Packers went out, because they would be 11-5-1. I think that's how that works with draws. The draw makes it really weird. But I know Chicago has the tiebreaker if we end up with the same record as them, which is why Chicago needs to lose out. So hopefully Chicago loses to San Fran on Sunday Night Football. Eagles-Bills play at 4:25, so we will not know at that time. So we should see full starters for both of those teams. Bills playing for the AFC East title, and the Eagles still playing for seeding. So should be interesting come Sunday. We'll talk about that more come Sunday, of course. For now, to finish out the show, just going to get into the Christmas Day matchups. Not going to spend a ton of time on them, if I'm being completely honest. We'll get into the Saturday matchups, which are a little bit better. There are some Week 17 incentives you all should pay attention to, especially from a betting perspective. Guys need certain props, right? Certain statistics to get bonuses. We know teams like to go for those in the latter parts of the season, so we'll talk about a little bit of those, and then we'll finish out with an AFC and NFC past, present, future, ghosts of Christmas for the NFL edition, just to finish us off with some Christmas joy here. But let's get started. Christmas Day, we have the Dallas Cowboys 6-8-1 visiting the Washington Commanders, who are 4-11. Dallas Cowboys 7-point favorite in this one. This game means absolutely nothing. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. Both of these teams are eliminated from the postseason picture. Just wanted to bring that game up to mention that for the Commanders and Dallas Cowboys fans out there. Commanders 4-11. Congratulations on that NFC Championship trip last year. Enjoy. But yeah, 4-11 this season. Cowboys eliminated. Heard from Cowboys fans maybe 2 weeks ago how they were going to run the division, win the division, lock themselves in the postseason, kick the Eagles out. It was the Eagles are collapsing. Yeah, we see who collapsed. That game means nothing. I imagine the Dallas Cowboys will win because the game means nothing. Next, we have the Detroit Lions, 8-7, taking on the Minnesota Vikings, who are 7-8. JJ McCarthy, I believe, is out for the rest of the season. Had a hairline fracture in that past game. Lions 7.5-point favorites on the road against Minnesota. Minnesota is eliminated from the postseason. Detroit still has some minimal life left on the lifeline there. They are 7.5-point favorites in this one. I do like Detroit to beat Minnesota, especially without their starting quarterback. I'll go with Detroit in that one. They keep themselves alive for now. The last matchup of Christmas Day, we have the Denver Broncos 12-3 taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 6-9, also eliminated from the postseason. Denver 13.5-point favorites. The over/under for this game is set at 36.5. That sounds like a fucking snooze fest. I imagine this game probably looked solid at the beginning of the year when you thought the Kansas City Chiefs would be competing or leading the division, but obviously this game is pretty meaningless outside of the Denver Broncos taking care of business and maintaining their spot in the AFC. I'll go with the Broncos on the road there. No Pat Mahomes, obviously, tore his ACL a couple weeks ago. Let's move to the Saturday games. These actually have some real playoff implications, so they are actually pretty interesting. First game on Saturday, we have the Houston Texans 10-5 visiting the LA Chargers, who are 11-4. The LA Chargers are 1.5-point favorites at home. The over/under set at 39.5. I actually do love that over. I know the Chargers defense has been pretty steady, but I look for both of these quarterbacks to step up on a big primetime day on Saturday and make some plays. So I do like that over 39.5. This is interesting, right? Because you look at the Chargers right now, they are 11-4. They are right behind the Denver Broncos. Now, obviously, the Chargers would need the Broncos to lose. Let me just confirm here, because I think I said this earlier, right? The Broncos play the Chargers. Yeah, they play the Chargers in the final week of the season. So Chargers need to win to stay alive for the 1 seed, ultimately, barring Denver Broncos losing that game on Thursday against Kansas City. Denver wins, Chargers will ultimately need to win to stay alive to win the AFC West. On Houston's side of things, they are obviously competing with the Jacksonville Jaguars to compete for that AFC South division. They're 10-5, Jags 11-4. Just wanted to take a look and see who the Jags play the last couple weeks. I know they don't play each other. So the Jags play the Colts this upcoming week, and then the Titans in the final week at home. So the Jags should win the division, barring a big setback against one of those two lesser teams in the division. Colts being a lesser team without their starting quarterback right now. yeah, we're going to see both of these teams should be going full strength in this matchup. It is going to be a close game, I would imagine. I'm going to go with the Texans on the road. I'm going to go with the Texans on the road. I'm going to go with that defense to step up and make a big play at the end of this game. I do think it'll be tight. I'm going to go with the Texans on the upset against the LA Chargers on Saturday. And then the late night game, this one, game time decisions, right? Because we're going to be relying on those for entertainment. Otherwise, this may be a game I might not watch. But you got the Baltimore Ravens 7-8. They're desperately trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, right? They're visiting the Green Bay Packers at 9-5-1. They're trying to maintain that 7 seed in the NFC right now, but also still try to keep pace with the Chicago Bears in case the Chicago Bears lapse during these last 2 weeks. Green Bay's got to get a win. Baltimore needs a win. These guys are trying to make the playoffs, secure their spots. Green Bay is a 3-point favorite at home. The over-under set at 40.5 points. The big caveats here are that Jordan Love and Lamar Jackson are both questionable. If one plays and the other doesn't, then I'd probably favor the team that has their starting quarterback. But if they both don't play, you get Tyler Huntley versus Malik Willis. I mean, good luck picking a winner out of that. If they both play, let's roll with that scenario. I'm going to go with the Packers, man. I was really close to picking the Ravens just because, I would love to see Lamar and Derrick Henry, just keep that hope alive for one more week, right? And maybe sneak in and surprise some people. But they just have not been able to beat good teams. And if Jordan Love plays in this game, I just don't see them being able to score enough points consistently against this Green Bay Packers defense to win this game on the road. I think the Packers are a solid, good team. And the Ravens just simply have not beat good teams this year. They're not a good team. So I will go with the Packers in this case. If they both don't play, I'll probably go with the Packers. We'll see how it plays out. Those are going to be big caveats going into the weekend. But nonetheless, Christmas Day slate sucks. Saturday's a little bit better. This is what we're going to see the last 2 weeks of the season as teams start to get locked in their postseason positions. We're going to see a lot less starters, a lot more bench, a lot more meaningless football to finish out the season. So just try to find your spots wisely, right? Try to find the entertaining spots and make the most of them as we finish this season. And for any fans out there where you think your team's going to be done after these next 2 weeks, just enjoy these last 2 weeks of your favorite team's football and try to soak it in as much as you can. But my team's locked in, just so you all know. Week 17 incentives. I did want to lay these out just for my betting people out there. We got a few incentives this week, meaning players get bonuses if they accomplish such. So let me just go through them very quickly for you guys. I got a little graphic here. We got Saquon Barkley. He needs 155 total yards this week for a $250,000 bonus. Now, the reason it's what to watch for in this week, you said this week's not the last week, a lot of these teams may not have much to play for come week 18. So we might not see Saquon week 18 against the Commanders, even if the Eagles do beat the Bills and then the Bears, whatever the case may be, right? So Saquon Barkley, 155 total yards for $250K. Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills, 1 catch for $100K. I think he's going to get that. 37 yards for $100K. 1 TD for $100K. So he could make up to $300K total. If he could just have 1 catch for 37 yards for a touchdown, he would make $300K this weekend. Stephon Diggs needs 4 catches for $500K. Hunter Henry needs 3 catches for $250K. Sam Darnold out in Seattle, he needs 4 passing touchdowns for $500K. He needs 297 passing yards for $500K. So he can make a total of $1 million if he goes out there, throws for 300 yards and 4 tutties. Keenan Allen needs 26 receiving yards for $250K, 2 touchdowns for $250K, so $500K total for him. Juwan Jennings of San Francisco needs 9 catches Sounds a little evil. $666,666. 34 receiving yards for $666,666. So a lot of sixes in there for Jauan Jennings. I don't know what that's all about. Can make up to a total of 1.3 million if he has 9 catches for 34 yards this Sunday. And then Deebo Samuel needs 2 catches for $450K. 61 receiving yards for $250K and 2 touchdowns for $250K. So he could make up to $950K total this weekend. Just some props to keep an eye on. Maybe throw some money those guys' way, knowing they could make some money themselves if they hit those marks. Always something fun to keep an eye on. But guys, we're coming up on the end of the show. I'm going to get us out of here with just a little bit of Christmas fun. AFC, NFC, wanted to do something Christmas related, given the big day tomorrow, which Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to each and every one of you out there. Appreciate all of you tuning in today, taking time out of your day to do so. Ghosts of NFL Christmas. We're going to do AFC edition, NFC edition. I'll start with the AFC. So you start to look at these in 3 categories, right? We're going to pick 3 teams per conference. Past, a team that resembles a fallen dynasty, something that was great in the past, right? The present obviously steals joy from fans right now. This is a dominant team right now, right? And then we have future. Who's the team that looks like they're going to be here to stay going forward? So we start in the AFC. I'll start with past. This one's easy, right? We got the 6-9 Kansas City Chiefs. They're looking like the past right now. You just had Patrick Mahomes tear his ACL. Will probably miss a big part of next season. Chris Jones getting older. Travis Kelce getting older. Andy Reid getting older. I think the Chiefs are just easily at 6-9 this season. Big disappointment. Ghosts of the past. You could argue that the ghosts of the past could be the ghosts of the future as well. When you see who my ghost of the future is, I think that one's pretty obvious as well. Ghosts of the present. This one I decided to get a little interesting with. Ghosts of the present in the AFC for me right now is the Houston Texans. 7 straight wins right now to get themselves back into the playoff picture in the AFC. They're currently the 7 seed. 7 straight wins against big AFC opponents mixed in there. And the reason I feel like it steals joy from opposing fans is because their defense is so good. You're not going to get to see much success offensively when your team plays the Houston Texans. So I went with the Texans as the present team right now. The other team I went with consideration was the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously coming off the big win against Denver. And then I think Denver's an obvious choice as well. But I went with the Texans nonetheless. And then future, I think you could slide Denver in there as well, but I don't know. I guess I just like the Patriots a little bit more with Drake May. I think when you look at Drake May as a young quarterback, first year with Mike Vrabel, that tandem and what the success that they're able to have so far, it's just Drake May's second season quarterbacking for the New England Patriots, and they're about to win their division, barring a big setback against a lesser team in these last 2 weeks. So I think the Patriots are here for this postseason. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think going forward, they'll be a team to watch out for as they start to add better weapons around Drake May up there in New England. But past, we're going with the Chiefs, that dynasty. We'll see if they can bounce back next year. I'm very doubtful on that. Present, I went with the Texans. I think the Broncos are a good option there. I also think you could go with the Jacksonville Jaguars with the way they're playing of late. And then future, we go with the New England Patriots. Let's shift over to the NFC. So past. This one's so easy. It's so obvious. You could go with the Cowboys, obviously, because they're just the easiest cockroaches to pick on in the NFC, in the NFL, quite honestly. In the NFL, they would be the ghosts of the past if you go for the entire league, because it's what their fans live off of, the past. But no, that is not who I ultimately picked here. Another team I'll throw a jab at is the Washington Commanders. Ghost of a pass because congratulations on that NFC Championship visit last season. Jaden Daniels rookie year. You'll get right back, right? No, ghosts of the past, Washington Commanders. But no, they didn't come out with the crown there either. I ultimately went with the Detroit Lions. And that just kind of leads me into I won't call it bold. It's not bold. They're not making the playoffs this year. The Lions aren't making the postseason this year. They have been a mainstay the last few years since getting Jared Goff in that trade and, picking up the talent around him. They've been a mainstay. That offense has been great the last few years. Lost Ben Johnson. Offense takes maybe a little step back, right? They've still put up points this season, but I think they've struggled against good teams. What's next for the Detroit Lions? Like, how do they get better? I guess get healthier on defense would be fair. Jared Goff, is he getting better? I don't know. I don't know what's next for the Lions. I think they're a ghost of the past. I think they were fun, but I think they are a ghost of the past. Not going to make the playoffs this year. Present, this one's easy. You guys will hate me. If you're not an Eagles fan, you'll hate me. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is the most hated player in the NFL. He steals joy from opposing fans. He ended the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty. So easy. Defending champs, by the way. And then future, I went with the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams duo there in Chicago. I think that is going to be a great duo for the future going forward. Have a chance to win the NFC North this season, their first season together, which would be a huge, huge accomplishment. But I think they're only going to get better moving forward. So you got the past being, you can go with the Cowboys. You could go with the Commanders too. But we went with the Lions as the past. Ghost of the present, obviously the Eagles in the NFC. And then the ghost of the future would be the Bears, in my opinion, with Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson starting to blossom, that duo there in Chicago. But that is going to be it for this episode of NFL Turf Talk. I appreciate each and every one of you that stuck with me here throughout the show and tuned in. Definitely appreciate anybody and everybody getting involved in the comments. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody. Be sure to enjoy the time with your family tomorrow. Hopefully none of you are working. Enjoy the day off from work. And I will see you guys on Sunday morning ahead of the Week 17, the rest of the slate. We'll recap Saturday's action. We'll recap Christmas action and get into the rest of the Week 17 slate. See you guys Sunday morning. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, hit it now. Appreciate you all. Happy holidays, everybody. Peace.